outside the national headquarters of the General Federation of Women's Clubs. Its 11 million members in 16,000 clubs throughout the country constantly devote their time to service projects for the betterment of their communities. Let's go inside and meet the national president, Mrs. Dexter O. Arnold.
In keeping with our work in community service, the General Federation of Women's Clubs, the largest organization of women in the world, is sponsoring a crusade for better street lighting as a means of reducing both traffic accidents and crime. We hope that this film you are about to see will inspire you to study the street lighting program of your community. Is it truly adequate? Working with our public officials, we must do everything we possibly can to provide adequate street lighting for our communities.
It's only me, Mike Jordan from the Gazette. Are you hurt? Gosh, I'm sorry I gave you such a scare. Here, let me help you into your house. You know, I should have realized it's just too dark around here to recognize anybody. Just points up what I've been saying in my recent series of newspaper articles called City of Danger, that darkness can have a tremendous effect on a community and its people. All too often, a devastating effect. Fear and danger usually walk hand in hand in the ominous black of night. What we can't see, we're afraid of. And that's why darkness does strange things to our imaginations. Sometimes, all is not as it seems to be, particularly at night. Often the one big difference between fright and peace of mind is light. Hello there.
Hi, Mike. How's Mary?
Fine, Sally.
When are you two coming over?
We'll come over real soon.
Good.
Good night, Sally.
Night.
As a night beat reporter, I can tell you that it doesn't usually turn out this way. Be nice if it did. And it could, with up-to-date street lighting. But Most communities have streets so dark that anything can happen, and usually does. The robber, vandal, the molester, all work best under the cloak of darkness. Some of the things I've had to write about haven't been too pretty, believe me. Yet with crimes of violence and robbery on the increase, more cars on the road at night creating traffic problems, some towns and cities are content to let Old Man Moon light the street where you and your family live. And some towns continue to use ancient streetlights that give only a fraction of the light of the moon. Afraid? Well, you certainly have a right to be. As you know, my job is to get the facts. And the fact of the matter is that most communities forget all about lighting their residential streets once they take their downtown areas out of the dark. Want to see what I mean? Come along with me. Merchants know for a fact that good street lighting helps create a buying atmosphere and attracts customers. Progressive industries are also conscious of the role street lighting plays in affording protection and stimulating community growth. And real estate people have shown me cold facts and figures which convinces me that property values go up in areas that look alive and inviting simply because they're well lighted at night. But I've found that the ladies are the ones who really appreciate good street lighting. Many of them can only do their shopping at night, and they won't shop where it's dark. New shopping centers know this. But what happens when the woman shopper leaves the protective custody of a supermarket for home? Frankly, I can't understand how communities which boast of their well-lighted business areas can be so blind as to let their residential streets remain dangerously dark when it's so easy to add light, like this. Most municipal officials, and particularly those responsible for law enforcement, like Chief Terrence McCaig here of the Glastonbury Police Department, are well aware of the need for better street lighting. But it's up to people like you, in your community, to make it known that you want your streets taken out of the dark.
That's right, Mike. But would you believe it? Only 2% of all residential streets in the country are adequately lighted like our model here.
In other words, Chief, this model street is not typically American. Let's remove these bright modern lights and see what the average street in the average American town does look like after dark. Now, we'll add one old-fashioned light to every fourth pole like that. And there it is, our typical street, dimly lighted and a potential breeding place for crime and traffic accidents.
We want you to notice the deep shadows and the pockets of light. The widespread dark area between the lights provides perfect concealment for the criminal element.
We can get rid of some of those eerie shadows by adding a light to every other pole, like this. Better, but still not good. Some town officials believe that this amount of light is adequate. But would you allow your wife or daughter to venture far alone in such darkness as this?
Statistics show that 10 times as many crimes occur during the night as the day. With the alarming increase in crime, it is not a good feeling to know that there is a predominance of poorly lighted streets in every community in America.
It's hard for most of us to realize how poorly lighted most streets are until we can see the amazing contrast between good and bad street lighting, or none at all. Now, some communities have become aroused and concerned enough to do something about the menace of night. They're erasing the shrouds of darkness with long-range streetlight improvement programs. Now, these wide-awake communities are adding first modern light to the most dangerous areas, and then each year in a planned 5 or 6 year program, they're filling in all the dark areas until they have a light on every pole, on every street, just like this.
Modernization of street lighting has reduced one city's personal violence crime rate by 49% and the juvenile delinquency rate by 30%. The effect of new street lighting is equally gratifying in other towns. Prowlers and criminals just don't like well-lighted areas.
I think, Chief, we've proved there's a big difference between obsolete and up-to-date street lighting. But some people may be as skeptical as I was once before starting my newspaper series about the merits of street lighting. Tell me, does adding a little extra light really make a difference in a community's way of life?
Definitely, Mike. We know that good street lighting reduces traffic accidents, especially accidents involving pedestrian fatalities. It is the best accident preventive insurance that I know of. Studies in Connecticut have proven that good night lighting reduces by 85% accidents on the highway and 60% in the urban areas. And as I mentioned before, we also know that modern street lighting discourages criminals of all types. It also enables my police officers to do their work more efficiently and faster because they can see better. You ask them and they will inform you that a modern street light is a great asset to them while they're on patrol.
Chief, as a former FBI agent, you've had an opportunity to observe crime both on the national and on the small town scale. Does, as most people think, or some people think, major crime and juvenile delinquency take place in just the bigger cities?
On the contrary, crime and delinquency is everywhere. J. Edgar Hoover, director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, recently revealed that it cost every family in the United States $506 a year. Think of it. Then remember, every dark street is a potential avenue of danger and crime.
Are you still skeptical? If you are, would you be a little more conscious of your street when you go home tonight? And remember, street lighting is not a luxury tax item in your town budget. You still pay for it, whether you have it or not. In crime, traffic accidents, property damage, and tragedy. Can you really put a price tag on the safety of your family, or even on peace of mind? How can you measure the cost of preventing a frightening experience to those you love? The handicap of an accident, the theft of a sentimental trinket, your valuables, or arson. Don't wait for something like this to happen on your street, in your community. Nowadays, with our many church, social, and community activities taking mother, daughter, and the whole family, in fact, to evening get-togethers, the protection provided by street lighting is a must. Street lighting is everybody's business, and you may be dead wrong if you think it isn't. Now, I'll admit that street lighting may not be the complete answer to combating crime and the like, but it's the next best thing to daylight, believe me. If you really want better street lighting, it's strictly up to you. Remember, it's people like you and me who are the community. And should your community decide to remain in the dark, you'll have only yourself to blame. You'll be like the three monkeys who see nothing, hear nothing, and say nothing. But more especially, who see nothing.
Yes, sir. Art Petrie is a do-it-yourself man. Right now, Art is building, well, he's constructing, well, looks mighty interesting, whatever it is. Let's see now. Art needs a 45-degree angle cut here, so he just marks off the cut, props the board in a couple of blocks, and there, he's all set. Now to get the cut started. There, that's it. Oops! Ouch! Ooh, that saw caught Art right across the knuckles. I guess you can't blame Art for being mad. He's not hurt bad. It's just that, well, here's the whole story. You see, Art is a foreman over at the plant. His job is to tell others how to do things right. So he felt kind of foolish showing up with a bandaged hand. As bad luck would have it, almost the first fellow he ran into was his friend Pete, the carpenter boss. Pete wanted to know what bit him. Oh, Art said, I just got a little careless with a saw. No, I don't think you were careless, Pete said. You probably just don't know how to use a saw. There's quite a knack to it. Wait a minute, Art said. I've been using a saw all my life. Now you tell me I don't know how? Well, we'll see, Pete said. Next chance you get, bring your saw over to the shop and we'll find out. Yep, just as I thought, Pete said. You are using a dull saw. Go on. Show me what else you did. So Art showed Pete how he had propped the board on a couple of blocks and, well, just started cutting. That's when the saw jumped out of the cut and ripped across his knuckles. No wonder, Pete said. To begin with, you should have been using a miter box. And here, use a good saw. Another thing, you've got to handle it right. Here, try it yourself. No, not like that. Smooth and easy. Don't lunge at it. There, that's better. See? Nothing to it if you know how. Knowing how is important on any job. When the fellows that work for me do something crazy or dangerous, I figure it's not so much that they're careless, they just don't know any better. Uh-oh, just a minute. There's one now. Just look what that fellow is using for a scaffold. 1-inch boards laid loose across the forks of a lift truck. It's a sure thing he doesn't know the chance he's taking. There. Maybe that little demonstration will help. Pete sent the driver for a portable stage that they use for jobs like that. Then he spent a little time talking to the young fellow. He showed him that there was a knot in that board. It never would have held him. But even if the boards had been strong, Pete said that lying loose on the forks like that, they were likely to slip. What you need, he said, is a solid platform like this with a railing. It was made especially for this kind of a job, so that's the thing to use. You know, Pete said when he got back, I'll bet that young fellow didn't even know that a board with a knot in it could break so easy. Yeah, Art said, I'm painting the garage at home, and the plank I've been standing on looks pretty bad, too. Guess I'd better saw it up and get me a new one. Good idea, Pete laughed. But do me a favor, huh? This time, be a little more careful about the way you use that saw. Well, back in his department, Art was thinking about what Pete had said. That people do dangerous things because they don't know any better. And talking about dangerous things, just look at this. Holy smoke of all... How can anyone be so dumb? Bumping a compressed gas cylinder across the floor without a cap on. Sure, Jim was new on this job, but everybody knows about gas cylinders. Or do they? Art remembered that he hadn't given the new fellow much instruction. Just keep the welder supplied with the cylinders. Well, that's all he told him. Well, right then and there, Art took the time to teach Jim the correct way to do the job. The cap must always be in place, he said, to protect the valve. Because if the valve should get broken off, brother, that cylinder could take off like a rocket. Another thing, Art said, a gas cylinder should never be rolled or handled roughly. He showed Jim how the cylinder should be put on a special truck and chained in. Yes, that's the way. Boy, that sure proved one thing. What people don't know can hurt. And from now on, Art was going to make it his business to see that they did know. Art was like most foremen. He didn't think of himself as being a teacher, and yet giving instruction was probably the biggest part of his job. Every day people did dangerous things. Like this welder letting sparks fall on the feed hose. It was up to Art to stop these unsafe practices, to teach people the correct way of doing their jobs. Foreman doesn't turn out production himself. He gets things done by teaching others. And a big part of teaching is correcting people every single time he sees them doing something wrong. Of course, a foreman's teaching job isn't an easy one. He works with all kinds of people, some younger and some older than he, some with experience and some without. Some of the men catch on quickly, and others, well, then there are others like Ted Carlson. Oh, no, Art can't count the times he's shown Ted how to do that job. But there's nothing to do but start over again. That's it. Always take the time to fasten the work in a vise. And make sure it's secure so it won't whip around while you're drilling. It could tear your fingers off. No, you want to get a steel sliver in your hand? Use the brush for chips. That's what it's there for. Yes, Ted's a slow learner. Sometimes you got to show him over and over again. But, well, that's just part of a foreman's job. And this is Bill, another type you'll find in almost any department. He's an experienced man, a good worker, but he's on a new job. Things are bound to be different. See, Bill is an old-time truck operator, but there are different controls on different trucks. So Bill needs some on-the-job training just as much as if he were a new worker. Art has also found that even with an experienced worker, there are some special rules and special conditions that he needs to be taught. For example, they've always allowed smoking around the plant. Bill's always smoked on his previous jobs. It's a habit with him. So now he lights up without realizing that in some places smoking can be downright dangerous. He doesn't even see that no smoking sign up there. So when Art stops Bill and tells him that smoking isn't allowed, he can't understand it. No one ever objected to his smoking before. What's so different about this spot? So Art explains the difference. It's that highly flammable liquid that's being used in that dip tank. It'd take just one spark and boom, a place that'd blow sky high. Well, that kind of talk anybody'd understand. And Bill's no exception. Oh, Art also tells Bill to be careful about taking those corners because of the wide loads he has to carry on this job. Yes, maybe Bill is a little set in his ways, but he isn't too different from most people. When you really get to know them, you show them the why of things, they're reasonable enough, more than willing to fall in step. Yes, there are all kinds of people in every department, and they all require different treatment. One of the types that can be difficult is the sensitive worker, especially if the sensitive worker happens to be a woman like Evelyn. Art had reminded Evelyn a couple of times that she shouldn't be wearing that ring. You're liable to lose a finger, he told her. But Evelyn is sentimental about that ring. She's never had it off before. So no sourpuss foreman was going to tell her whether or not she could wear her wedding ring. Finally, Art had an idea. This time he didn't say a word to Evelyn about the ring. He just handed her some pictures, told her to take a look. Actual photographs of accidents that had happened to people because they were wearing rings around moving machinery. Well, they weren't pretty to look at. Not a nice sight. No, Evelyn didn't like what she saw. She handed the pictures back to Art, slipped the ring off her finger, and put it into her pocket. Yes, you could just tell that the photos had made an impression. They'd done the job that Art had intended. This time, perhaps Evelyn's ring was off to stay. Of course, teaching isn't always correcting. Lots of times it's just stopping to talk to a man about his work, showing an interest, giving him a little pat on the back for what he's doing right. But even when you have to correct a worker for some little thing or some big thing even, you can do it helpfully and pleasantly, without nagging. It takes time and patience, sure, but the average foreman is a pretty good teacher. He has to be, or chances are he wouldn't have been made a foreman in the first place. Pete walked into Art's office not so long ago, and look what he picked up. They both laughed about it, remembering that business about the saw. Remember that day you showed me how to use it right? Art asked. You know, I felt pretty good about it. Guess it's just a matter of pride to want to do any job well, the right way. You know, if I feel that way about it, what about all those people out there who work for me? Chances are they want to do their jobs right, too. Yes, as Art says, those people do want to do their jobs right, all of them. The slow learners like Ted, the old-timers like Bill who are set in their ways, the fellows like Jim, brand new on the job, and, yes, the sensitive workers like Evelyn, too. All those people out there are different in a lot of ways, sure, just like you and me. But like most of us, they want to do their jobs right, if they know how. But somebody has to show them. Somebody has to teach them the right way to work without getting hurt. And the only one who can do that is the foreman.
The story of American progress is the story of a million mechanical miracles as to amaze the streamlined trains that have brought and west closer, planes that have brought nations closer, the new cross-country trucks that carry twice as much or half as much, the new type buses that have brought the wonders of America within the price range of all. How commonplace the telephone now seems. The instrument you have in your own home, which has the power to bring you in direct contact with Charlie Smith, just around the corner. Or Joe Jones, who at the moment is in London, or Brazil. And broadcasting stations and radios. Only a comparatively few years ago since Pop brought home that crystal job. If you could receive from 5 miles away, you were doing great. And now it's nothing to tune in on practically every country in the world. Our buildings, not only the highest, but the most modern. And that goes for our bridges, monuments to American know-how. Yes, and there are little things, too. Little things in size, that is, but big, very big, to Mrs. America. Like washing machines and refrigerators, and a waffle iron that turns itself off when the waffle is done. And nice new bathrooms and, well, ask any housewife. Yes, modern industry has changed the ways of practically every person, every nation. The Goliath steel mills, and airplane plants, and shipyards, and machine shops, by the hundreds, thousands, by the 100,000s. Yes, there are many types of machine shops, and many, many more types of machines. Specialized equipment for making ships, and planes, and cars, and homes, and guns, and grenades, and baby carriages, and tanks, poison gas, and ice cream. For whatever the demand, the skilled hands of America's workers are more than equal to the task. For no matter how intricate the machine, how complicated the operation, the machine will be handled and handled well. For no worker in the world can match the skill of the American workman, whose hands have labored and whose eyes have guided them to make this the industrial capital of the world. American eyes that have painstakingly guided America's mechanical achievements. Eyes which are exposed to heat and cold, flame and fire, soot and dirt, and unnecessary accidents. For it is an inescapable fact that despite the many new safety devices now available to factory workers, every year 100,000 workers suffer on the job eye injuries. Hundreds lose the sight of both eyes. Over 3,000, the sight of one eye. And many, many thousands more suffer permanent impairment of vision from job accidents. When you use your eyes, remember to use your head.
This must stop. I can't understand it. I thought our new safety program would decrease accidents, but look at this report. Why, not only have eye accidents increased, but they're more serious than before.
Yes, Mr. Rhodes of the safety department was quite concerned about it, too. He asked me to show you these clippings.
Clippings? What are they about?
They're about an eye savings specialist of the United States Department of Labor.
Milton M. Bowman, who has helped many firms solve their eye safety problems and has convinced thousands of workers of the need for eye protection. Miss Fraser, your book. Let's see if we can get Mr. Bowman to help our people. Gentlemen, I am right.
This is Mr. Bowman, Mr. Moore.
How do you do, Mr. Bowman? How do you do, Mr. Bowman? Won't you sit down?
Thank you.
Mr. Bowman, I can't tell you how delighted I am that you've come here to help us.
Privileged to be here, Mr. Moore. Just what seems to be your specific problem?
Well, we set up an eye safety program here several months ago. We provide protective equipment for the men and women in the shop, but they won't take it seriously. Many of them won't use the equipment, and most of them beef about the discomfort.
Mr. Moore, that is exactly the same story we hear wherever we are called in to assist. The solution usually is the proper application of a few fundamentals that's oftentimes overlooked. These fundamentals deal with the proper selection and the adjustment of the equipment to the needs of the individual workman.
Now, that sounds simple, Mr. Bowman, but believe me, the workers in this plant won't be satisfied easily.
I'm sure when you find that they know more about their eyes and the dangers to which they're exposed, and then the proper application of these fundamentals that we've been discussing that oftentimes are overlooked, you'll find that it'll overcome at least 88% of your difficulties. That, Mr. Moore, has been our findings over a period of, many years, some 20 years. First, I would like to visit the place where you dispense the safety equipment. May I?
Certainly. Right this way.
Okay, fellas, let's sit down here and wait. Over there, Mike.
Hey, boss.
Hi, Joe.
See you in a minute.
All right.
Holy smokes, do they really think I'm going to wear these icky things? Just take a look at me in them. Brother, don't I look awful? No, sir, not for this chick. It just ain't good for my morale.
Young lady, do you know what they are?
Sure, glass eyes. Gee, they sure look real, don't they?
That's right. And there's one here that would match you up fine. But there's one thing about these artificial eyes.
Really? What's that?
They look all right, but you can't see through.
I see what you mean. I'm sorry.
Mr. Moore, you have a fine setup here, sir. But here's a striking example of overlooking some of the fundamentals that we discussed in your office. This man can be further instructed by one of the profession or an optical technician. I would suggest that you fit this young lady with a smaller frame, suitable for the type of work she is doing. Take into consideration these various facial characteristics. Fine. I would suggest you to take advantage of the fine facilities you have here. I'm sure it'll overcome most of your difficulties.
Look, with me, it's not a question of not wanting to wear glasses. I'm nearsighted, and the glasses I wear are a godsend. I wouldn't be without them. But when I wear the protective glasses over my regular glasses, I can hardly hold my head up. It's so heavy. And when I wear the protective glasses alone, I can't see very well. And then, too, they
They pull my eyes. Why couldn't I just wear my regular glasses? After all, they cover my eyes.
The solution to your problem is a very simple one. I have here a pair of regular glasses, similar to what you're wearing. Come on over here a minute. I want to show you something. Put on those coveralls. Suppose you were wearing your regular glasses and a piece hit. And a piece of that glass would fly into your eye. Where would you be? Now, let me show you something else. Those safety glasses can take it. And furthermore, your prescription can be ground in, giving you comfort, efficiency, and protection at all times.
Say, you really got something here.
Is the idea of goggles over regular glasses entirely impractical?
Not exactly so. Come over here. Fit Mr. Moore with a pair of coveralls.
Yes, I see what you mean, Mr. Bowman. This combination would be very uncomfortable for long jobs.
Here's another angle, an important one. May I borrow that Reader's Digest that you have in your pocket, sir?
Certainly.
Here. Hold this where you read it most easily. That's right. Just about 18 inches. That's the normal reading distance. And glasses are usually ground for that distance. However, the workman may be working at 28 inches. How about there?
Well, I'd have to get closer to read the print.
Not so good. That's just what your employees have to do on the job. With reading lenses, they can't move the work up, so they either don't see it clearly or bend forward.
Guess I better get out of here before that guy starts selling me glasses.
As a matter of fact, mister, you need glasses.
Oh, I do, huh? Listen, buddy, for 30 years I've been working on machines, and I never once had anything happen to my eyes. And I've never used safety glasses. How do you like that?
I like it fine, but you've been just lucky.
Oh.
Plain lucky.
Lucky, huh? I suppose you think it's lucky because I can see better than anybody I know, despite what you say about me needing glasses.
I still say you need glasses.
Oh, yeah? Now, listen. Here, take that. Hold it toward me. Now step a good distance away from it. Here. Over to here. Now watch. As they do it in America. Cargo of innocence, copied from a New York magazine. Now, what did I tell you? I suppose you still think I need glasses, huh?
Just stand back there a minute. Let me come to you closer. Nice and close. Say about 18 inches. Now read it.
Gee, that's a strange thing. I just can't seem to read it from here.
No reason to be upset about it. Most people have this to contend with as they grow older. They either don't realize it or just hate to admit it. Women particularly. I remember once being out with a rather attractive woman. Well, she didn't want people to know that she had to wear glasses. The waiter brought us the menu. And after I had made up my mind, I turned to assist my companion. This is what greeted me. She was afraid that glasses would give away her age. But look at this. 10, 20. Why, she was 45 if she was a day.
All right, I'll try a pair of glasses. You know, I've been getting headaches lately, and maybe glasses would help. But I still think those safety glasses are the bunk. 30 years without them and nothing's happened.
You like baseball?
Sure, I like baseball. Say, when I started going to baseball games, Christy Matheson was a rookie.
Good. Then you remember the days before catcher protection, when the catcher had to stand way behind the plate, except when the count was 2 strikes.
Sure, I remember those days. Why?
Did you ever see a catcher get hit with the ball or the bat?
Yes, it did.
You bet you did. And many a good catcher was seriously hurt until catcher protection was introduced. Be smart. Take a lesson from them. Wear protection at all times.
Look out there, Mr. Bowman. You see that blind man? He used to be an expert machinist. He was a good man, and he made good money. He didn't believe in safety glasses either. Then one day, his luck ran out. He had an accident. Now he'll never be able to see again.
I know all too many similar cases. By the way, do you know what that is that he's carrying?
No.
That's the Braille edition of the Reader's Digest. It takes all of those volumes in Braille to duplicate the printing that's contained in that small copy you have there. Now listen. Which is heavier? Your safety glasses or that Braille?
Gee, I'm sorry if I seem kind of stubborn, but then I just didn't know, that's all. Thank you, sir. Say, boss, if it's all right with you, I'd like to go see the eye doctor and get my eyes examined.
Get your eyes examined? What for?
Well, I just found out I need glasses. I'm farsighted. I get headaches, and, well, now that I know what's wrong with me, I'd like to correct it.
Look, Joe, we've got a lot of work to do if we want to reach our monthly quota. Now, you've waited this long to get glasses. Another month ain't going to do you any harm.
Yeah, I know, but I need glasses. That's very important.
Important? And getting out these parts ain't, I suppose.
Oh, of course it is, boss, but, well, the way I understand it is, now suppose I got hurt working, and I lost an eye. I'd be out a whole lot longer than just a couple hours to go see the eye doctor.
Look, don't get me wrong. This goggle and glass business is fine. I'm all for it, if it doesn't interfere with production. But when a guy has to take time off on account of it, then I say it's being built up too much. You're taking the whole damn thing too seriously, Joe. Go on, get back to work. The boogeyman ain't gonna get you.
Mike, wait a minute. You're doing a great job, and we appreciate it. But we've got to remember that the safety of our men is very important. Now, we've lost more production hours because of eye accidents than we'll ever lose, allowing our men to see an eye doctor if the necessity arises.
Maybe I could underline the importance of eye protection and show you some actual cases when eyes are not protected. Come up to Mr. Moore's office. I have some materials up there. I'd like to show them to you. I'm sure you'll be interested.
Well, I guess I better go get safety glasses fitted on first.
Now, to get back to what you said about this eye protection program being all right, just so it didn't interfere with the work, let me show you something. Here are two eyes that were healthy, alive, and working less than 30 days ago. This happens to be the eye of a workman. This happens to be the eye of a supervisor. Let's cover some points further that might be very helpful in preventing such things as is happening right here. Your eyesight was given you for two reasons: to go in search of food and as a means of avoiding enemies. It is said that modern man receives 87% of his education and 80% control of his actions through it. Your eye functions like a camera, an expensive camera, and its intricate and delicate parts may be upset by such things as injury, disease, systemic disorders, diet, or poor lighting. There are 5 places where causes of defective vision may be found. First, in the shape of the eye, too long, causing nearsightedness; too short, causing farsightedness, or irregular, causing astigmatism. Second, sometimes the two eyes do not work well together as a team, depriving you of clear, distinct vision with depth and perception. Third, damage to the back part of the eye, resulting from harmful rays, inadequate lighting, injury, or disease. Fourth, in the lines of communication that carry the picture to the brain. Fifth, in the brain itself. Wear your safety hat to prevent eye-damaging head injuries. The eye, approximately 1 inch overall, is made up of 3 major layers. First, the protective coat, which is tough and fibrous. Second, the blood supply, the food for the eye. Third, the innermost layer made up of blood supply and millions of nerve endings called rods and cones, which help us to read, see color, and detect motion. The eyeball is filled with transparent substances. The innermost part, like the white of an uncooked egg. The front part is a watery substance, which flows in from the bloodstream and returns through the little canals indicated by the arrows. Interference with this circulation may cause a condition called glaucoma. Much can be done for it if caught in time, but its neglect may cause various degrees of blindness. Impurities coming from the bloodstream, from such things as bad teeth or tonsils, cause little strings or pieces called floaters. Suspended between these 2 substances is the lens of the eye. Disease or trauma may cause a condition of the lens known as cataract. This type, senile cataract, can be handled by competent hands, but this type, the result of accidental injury, is more serious, usually hopeless. Your safety glasses worn wherever your eyes are exposed to danger are your best protection against this condition and against injury to the front part of the eye, the cornea, resulting in permanent loss of vision in varying degrees. These cases may often be helped by various treatments, even to the extent of taking the eye from another person, one just dead, or someone without vision in that eye. Here are some recent injuries resulting from preventable accidents. This one to a child who fell on a lead pencil. This to a worker who raised his safety glasses to his forehead just before a flying fragment struck. This one resulting from a chemical burn, typical hazard in many operations. And health is important too. Social diseases like this. Infection resulting from colds and allergies to various substances may impair or destroy eyesight. Never diagnose or attempt to treat your own eye troubles. Don't use preparations and drugs unless they are fresh and prescribed for your use. And never, never attempt to take anything out of another's eye. That's a job for a qualified person. With normal vision, you can do a better job and do it easier. You have the vision of the bird, which works like a telescope, of the zebra to warn you of danger from the side, of the tiger for seeing motion above and below, of the rabbit, and of the housefly, which allows you to detect side motion while concentrating straight ahead. All these and many other features of eyesight make it God's most wonderful physical gift to man. Guard it from infancy to old age. Mr. Moore, you as a representative of management, you of supervision, and to you workers, I cannot urge too strongly the importance of protection for and the correction of your eyesight. Not alone from a production standpoint, but from a social standpoint as well. You can get by with no sight. Yes, you can get along with one eye. But you most certainly can get along better with two eyes. Don't forget, as tragic as blindness may be, our big job today is these countless thousands of so-called minor eye accidents that are robbing workmen of part of their vision in one eye. They will be handicapped in anything they undertake. There are only 4 points to remember. First, always consider your eye a very important member of your body. Don't experiment with it. Second, when you have eye trouble, seek competent professional advice. Third, follow that advice. Fourth, protect your eyes at all times. When you use your eyes, use your head.
To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under the heavens. And springtime is the season of new life. And we must bear in mind that there are 3 kinds of life. First, there is the life of the soil. Last year's leaves, decaying vegetation, and all that we may think of as dead is really very much alive as the earth is constantly replenished. Secondly, healthy Mother Earth gives birth to and supports all things that grow, but which are rooted to one spot. And crowning the Trinity, up from Mother Earth, through the infinite variety of plants, there is the magnificent life that is not tied down, but is free to swim and run and fly. And in the proper season, new life bursts out of its cocoons, its wombs, its shells, to taste and feel and see the spring-washed world into which they have come. And the parents of all these young things have no doubts about where they belong in the grand symphony of nature's scheme of life, and they have no doubts about how to take care of their young. They seek out the best that nature has provided. They cannot read or write, but they know what food is intended for them. Exercise is alternated with rest. Cradled in warmth and shelter, peace and quiet and loving care, the young follow the lead of their parents and are guided safely and surely on the road to health and happiness. Hello, what have we here? Obviously a representative of the human race. Man behaves as if he were master of all creation with the power to dominate all other animals. And the paradox is that of all the living creatures of the world, the only one who is in doubt about his place in nature and how to take care of his young is 20th century man. Mankind was given a Garden of Eden with his pathway through life garlanded with the ineffable blessing of peace and good health. But he has distorted it into a maelstrom of confusion, with premature death and disease rampant everywhere. He has strayed far from nature and his simple natural needs. And by his unlawful living habits, he is destroying himself. He is sick in body, distorted in his mind, and tortured in his soul. His whole existence on earth is a nightmare of constant threats of disease and terrifying danger to his life, all the way from the cradle to the grave. And when death has struck its final bell, how futile are the words of the poet, turn backward, O time in thy flight, make me a child again just for tonight. For civilization hurtles on its heedless way, while many a lonely heart grieves for a soul too soon departed from this earth. And even more sorrowful than those who suffer and die too soon is the story of those countless unborn children who have never gladdened the hearts of childless parents. Have you ever thought what a sad place the world would be if there were no children in it? I had been at Sheldon and Rose's wedding when they were married 10 years ago. They were making the best of the fact that they could not have a child of their own. They had constantly tried every kind of treatment that was recommended, but it seemed to be hopeless. It was small comfort to them to know that 10% of all married couples in the United States are sterile. I used to give them magazine articles and books and ask questions like, did you know that with all living creatures, the maintenance of health and perpetuation of the species is an important law of nature, and that good health and procreation may go hand in hand? And Sheldon, who was more of the physical type, began to read and think. Here I am, only 35 years old, getting up with a taste in my mouth like the wrath of the gods. My hair is thinning out. My sight isn't what it used to be. I'm about 60 pounds overweight. I have a bad case of colitis. My psoriasis itches like the devil. No matter what toothpaste I use, I still get cavities. And I'm always tired. Like most Americans, Sheldon and Rose always started their day with a whopping breakfast. Like most Americans, they knew that coffee contains poison, which didn't stop them from drinking it. But they had not known, for example, that in his book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, Weston Price, after exhaustive research all over the world, proves that highly refined and concentrated white flour and white sugar products fed to primitive peoples not only ruined their teeth, but ruined their health, physically, mentally, and spiritually in the space of a single generation. Like most other civilized people, they were always in a hurry, and the kind of foodless foods which they ate during the day and for their evening meal were the typical factory products which had been refined, canned, frozen, pickled, bottled, salted, fried, boiled, baked, or cooked to death. Their neighbors and their relatives' children liked to come to their home because they made such a fuss over them. They called them Aunt Rose and Uncle Shelley. But what they wanted to hear more than anything else in the world was their own child calling them Dad and Mommy. They tried to fill their lives with other interests. Plato had a regular gymnasium. He ate only the kind of food that was recommended for parakeets. They guarded his health carefully, and despite the fact that he had to live under artificial conditions, just like his masters, he was in tip-top shape. The only trouble was that Sheldon bought so many toys for him that Rose said he would become a spoiled brat. But a home without children can be a lonesome place, and there was much love lavished on this cocky little fellow. In the case of their pets, they understood that strength and beauty come from within. But with themselves, they were always trying to use a magic pill or a mysterious concoction that would rub it in from the outside. Of course, they were always up late to watch TV, and as any television addict knows, the after-midnight shows are usually a series of endless commercials with old movies sandwiched in between. Television is the most powerful medium for reaching the mind of man. What a blessing it would be if more people could see the facts which we presented to Rose and Sheldon. Here in these burning leaves, we see the folly of civilization's destruction of nature's method of restoring the earth's fertility. The result is a low grade of food and the ashes of disease and death. Having destroyed the natural immunity to disease, which comes from a well-nourished soil, man spreads deadly poisons on almost all his food. Nature strives constantly towards perfection, and here too she uses insects to abort inferior products. Man thinks that he has spoiled nature's effort to protect him. However, as he kills the insects, he endangers his own health, and indeed, his very life. Hjalmar Stefansson, the great protagonist of meat eating, states in his book, Not by Bread Alone, that man is not by nature a meat eater. In addition to breaking this natural law, he has perverted the taste of his children, and today he eats incredible things in abominable combinations. In their book, The Newer Knowledge of Nutrition, McCullum and Simmons state that modern civilization is carrying on an experiment of endeavoring to live on a diet such as has never been tried before in man's history. Man is his own guinea pig, and this experiment is taking place in the vast laboratory of life itself. Man overeats, overworks, gets insufficient rest, drives himself to the brink of exhaustion, then stimulates himself back to activity with 1,000 remedies. He drinks poisonous liquor and depends upon smoking tobacco as an escape from the miseries of his body, mind, and soul. But his narcotic bliss is disturbed because it has been suggested that cigarette smoking may be a cause of lung cancer. As if it were not common knowledge, as Jesse Mercer Gaham points out in his book, Smoke Over America, that tobacco in any form is injurious to the stomach, liver, pancreas, lungs, intestinal tract, and the eyes, that it has a deleterious effect on fertility, longevity, and beauty. However, filter tips are suggested as an answer to the cancer scare, and things soon return to normal insanity. Man's magnificent brain accepts this fantastic claim, and now his only worry is which filter tip to smoke. Very funny, perhaps, but it is no laughing matter. Supposing that you were told that you had cancer of the lung and that 1/2 of your lung would have to be cut out, would you reach for another filter-tip cigarette? We're not talking about some other John or Jane, but we mean you, Y-O-U. Statistics show that the hand of disease and death may be pointing right at you and may claim you for the next victim. Will you be the one out of every 4 persons now alive who will develop cancer? 10 million Americans are suffering from heart and circulatory diseases. Will you be one of them? Are you the one out of every 12 persons who will spend some part of your life in a mental hospital? Are you one of the 10% who will have ulcers? 2 million of us have diabetes and half of us don't know it. Are you one of those who will be caught? Whatever your station in life, you may be next on the list. 90% of all persons beyond middle age in this country will have some form of arthritis, the nation's greatest crippler. And in the case of children, chronic diseases like cerebral palsy, epilepsy, muscular dystrophy, and multiple sclerosis are widespread. Gordon Brand, a cystic fibrosis victim, is but one example of thousands of children who cry out for help. Is there no escape? Is it man's destiny to be sick? Sheldon and Rose were learning the answer to these questions. Is it possible that the tree of life is governed by the law of, as ye sow, so shall you reap? And if the roots of our lives are poison habits, disturbed emotions, constant excesses on the one hand, and serious deficiencies on the other, the result is enervation and general toxemia? Is it a fact that chronic disease evolves only after the suppression of many acute crises, while the real cause, our unnatural habits, is never removed? Is it possible that we build disease beginning with birth? Is it possible that by correctly providing a baby's simple needs for a safe journey through life, we can build health instead of disease? Instead of mere theory, Sheldon and Rose learned about many actual people who have mastered the art of intelligent living. People like Joanna Lange of St. Louis, Missouri, who, besides having a master's degree in music, has two fine children who have never had any of the so-called childhood diseases. And she attributes it to the fact that she depends upon the resources of nature for their health. People like Althea Pennipen of Batavia, New York, a real mother who knows that human babies, like their animal friends, are entitled to the only food that is intended for them in the beginning, their own mother's milk. People like Ralph and Alice Schneider of Brighton Beach, New York, who have good reason to be happy. You may recognize their lucky daughter, Diana, and Diana and her older sister, Ronnie, are lucky because they are being raised normally. And by normally, we mean having a breakfast of fresh fruit. And by normally, we mean getting the best of air, sunshine, exercise, and rest that it is possible to provide. And by normally, we mean absolute freedom from chronic disease or fear of disease. Whole fresh fruit and vegetables, mostly uncooked, constitute the staples of their diet. They drink milk as animals do, only during the nursing period of life, and it is raw and unpasteurized. They eat no meat, nor salt, nor spices. Healthy appetite needs no seasoning. In Bloomfield, New Jersey, we visited the family of John and Adele Sefcik. It was Christmas, the season of peace and goodwill, when the innate love which is normal to mankind runs to high and noble conscious expression. And John and Adele are among the fortunate parents who realize that love for their children means protecting and guarding them from civilization's abnormal environment. Little Mark fell asleep, but Richard had a lunch of freshly made carrot juice, a salad chopped up on the blender. He also likes to eat it whole. And unroasted, unsalted peanut butter. No sugar and no spice, and other things not so nice, for they're not the things that healthy little boys are made of. And if there are any scouts around for college football material, class of 1973, keep your eye on Dickie Sefcik. And while we were in New Jersey, we dropped in on the Campbell family at Packanack Lake. 5 of them, 3 boys and 2 girls. And after a brisk morning on the ice, with a thermometer hovering around 0, you may be thinking that they'll be coming in for a hot lunch of meat and potatoes and pie. Let's see. While she prepared lunch and kindly observed that she washes the fruit thoroughly, we asked Sophie Campbell, do your children stay healthy and happy on a diet of fresh fruit, nuts, salads, and some cooked vegetables? And she replied, they certainly do. And on the rare occasions when one of them may have a sniffle or any other slight indisposition, we know that it is nature's way of cleansing the body. And Papa Campbell agreed, and added that a few days without food and rest in bed if possible, and their youngsters would bounce up just raring to go. He added that nothing serious can ever happen to children who live as closely as possible in accordance with nature's law. Health cannot be bought. It must be built, just like the well-planned airplane that flew us westward to meet Dr. and Mrs. Ted Franklin of Bryan, Texas, who are following the same pattern of normal living and add to the skein of evidence that good health is not an accident. He is interested in tree culture, and she, well, let's quote her. I have my books and my religious study. I have many other interests, but above all, I would like the whole world to benefit from the knowledge of how successful we have been in imparting good health, physically, mentally, and spiritually to our children. And these glowing youngsters remind us of a bouquet of American beauties. Are you counting them? Mary Ann, Betty, Martha, Judy, Janice, John Edward, and Jojo. 7 is right. A wonderful American family. The mother of this happy brood had been unable to speak or hear since she was a child of 6. Now, she is recovering her speech and hearing. Miraculous? Not at all, for good health and wholeness go hand in hand through life. So sing out with joy, for it is children like yourselves who may hold the key to the health of future generations. In Dalton City, Illinois, Robert Rowe lives on a farm with his good wife, Barbara, and their 3 fine husky boys, Jack, Ronnie, and Larry. Not so long ago, despite the fact that he was an organic farmer, Robert Rowe was a sick man, suffering constant pain in his back and shoulders. Searching everywhere for help, he was led to the study of the system called natural hygiene, which really is synonymous with normal living. It teaches that there is only one way to get well and stay well, and that is to discard all abnormal habits and to live normally thereafter. It teaches that each bad habit which we retain will retard our health. We cannot bargain with nature. It teaches that we should not eat our animal friends, but that we should share the joy of life together. That we should breathe pure air. That we should drink pure, unpolluted water. That we should get lots of sunshine and outdoor exercise, alternated with rest. That we should eat fresh food in simple combinations.
Hurry, hurry, hurry! Step right in. Just come in a little closer, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I want you to know, my friends, that this is the very latest discovery of science. Absolutely guaranteed to cure rheumatism and fallen arches. Stomach cramps, shortness of breath, and warts. Rub it on the fingers and it keeps children from biting their fingernails.
Will it help spots in front of the eye?
Indeed it will, madam. Indeed it will. 1 spoonful for little spots, 2 for bigger ones. Now, come on, step right in, ladies and gentlemen.
The pitchman, with his snake oil, positively guaranteed to cure all the ills of mankind. As familiar a sight in an America that has vanished as the Tin Lizzie.
Product. This secret formula.
And he is still selling the same old snake oil. It, too, is more professionally packaged. It might be a product in a fancy box or bottle, or a fake but impressive-looking machine, which claims to do miraculous things to the human body. But it's still the same old snake oil. Today, more than ever, you and I are all too often taken by the con man and his products and devices, with promises to cure all the ills that trouble us.
It's come out.
I need something to take care of the stiffness in this hand.
They want to operate, but if there is anything that will dissolve this lump instead, huh?
If I take this, will I lose weight?
You say this will supply a special nutrient to tone up sagging face muscles?
And will it also cure this nagging backache of mine and help my kidney trouble?
You see, these heart palpitations will really disappear?
I've got the answer right here, ladies and gentlemen, to everything that ails you. Now, step right up. Will you come in closer, please? Now, I have here testimonials from people who have been cured. I said cured of backache, nervousness,
cancer, lost manhood, any number of diseases. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't ask you to take my word for it. Now, I've got the answer right.
But it's still the same old snake oil. I've got a hangnail, chronic bursitis, and a nervous tic. I I suppose this is science's answer for all of them.
Friend, this has a secret ingredient which will absolutely relieve every single symptom of hangnail, bursitis, tick, all the ancient diseases that have plagued mankind for years.
The cruel practice of making money on people's worries, fears, and hopes for health has been known throughout the years as quackery. The word comes from the old Dutch quacksalver, one who quacks like a duck about his salves and remedies. Time has made a few changes, but quackery today is still essentially built on misinformation, distortion, mental suggestion, faddism, and half-truths about health and well-being. And it is still spread in an atmosphere of ignorance, fear, and superstition, wherever people have reason to worry about their health or good looks. When the social historians write the story of our times, they will surely record the fact that midway through the 20th century, Americans became concerned with their waistlines.
Good gracious.
And their weight. And with good reason. Excess weight can be a serious health problem. And so quackery, in one of its modern guises, is part of this story, too. A big part.
Sure you won't have one? Delicious.
No, I'm afraid I can't. It's not on my diet.
That's old-fashioned. You don't have to worry about diets if you take these pills. They rearrange the calories.
Quackery today, in one of its many forms, floods the market with hundreds of products which claim a magic ability to do some such ridiculous thing as rearrange calories, or melt away fat, or inhibit weight. All of them are worthless. It's true that there are certain legitimate products which can help curb the appetite, but these medicines are safe only when prescribed and taken under a doctor's supervision. Here's the basic truth about overweight. Nothing yet has been discovered that takes the place of sensible dieting. It's the only sure, safe way to control weight. For in spite of rumors or claims to the contrary, calories do count. Other forms of quackery lure victims in other ways. Fake devices, for example, which are supposed to eliminate the accumulated deposits of a full, rich life. And this kind of swindle, which operates on human vanity, potions and creams that promise to erase the telltale marks of age and restore what time has taken away. The benefits of cosmetics, of course, have been reaped by both men and women for countless centuries, just as the rewards of sensible exercise have also been recognized. But quackery strikes well beyond these legitimate purposes by making claims that can never be fulfilled. Here are the sober facts on the aging process. Man has not yet discovered the legendary fountain of youth. No product, no device yet developed can grow hair on a bald head, or erase the furrows of age, or restore the fresh beauty and vigor of youth. Any promises to perform these miracles, however tempting they sound, are false. Medical and nutritional quackery, too, is big business today. It robs the American people of hundreds of millions of dollars each year. What is it? Nothing but old-fashioned quackery in modern dress. But the phony practitioner is not as visible as he used to be. And when we do see him, he's no longer a county fair medicine man. Today's peddlers of hokum get around in many different disguises. For example, you could encounter one at your front door any day. Many Americans have.
Good afternoon, madam. I represent the Nutritional and Biological Health Institute. Your name has been suggested to us as one of the intelligent, far-sighted members of your community interested in being informed about science's latest discovery in the field of dietary arrangement. I've brought with me lots of material this afternoon that I'd like you to take a look at.
Door-to-door peddling is one way of selling good, honest products. But this method is also used by phony promoters of health frauds and swindles.
A treatise written by Dr. Goodfellow.
The lecture hall is another favorite stomping ground for a different kind of con man, the food quack.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a great pleasure.
He operates by implying there's something wrong with America's food, by arousing fear and suspicion about our regular daily food supply.
The constant depletion of our soil, year by year, is taking away more and more of the nourishing natural elements nature puts into food. And what isn't destroyed that way certainly is by fertilizers, pesticides, and chemicals. What do we buy at the market? Food stripped of nature's vitamins, food contaminated with chemicals.
And not only that, modern methods of cooking and overprocessing, he claims, destroy the nutritional value of food. And we all wind up with aches, pains, that tired feeling, and what the bunkum artist calls subclinical deficiency diseases. But don't despair. The book will save us. Very often, the book convincing. It may extol the superior virtues of blackstrap molasses, or royal jelly, or honey and vinegar, or whatever. And the promoter, of course, just happens to have a supply of the product with the book or magazine. True, the products themselves may not be dangerous, but worthless products can harm the sick by causing delay in getting proper treatment. But whatever the food fad happens to be, the idea behind these phony promotions is one and indivisible: to take money out of your pocket and transfer it to the pocket of the promoter. Here are the facts about food. Americans today are better off nutritionally than any people in the history of man. The laws of the land protect our food supply against any harmful residues or pesticides, preservatives, or other additives. The food at our corner groceries and supermarkets, in our restaurants, and in our homes contain all the vitamins, minerals, and quality factors needed for good nutrition. Natural nutritional quality is not only protected, but sometimes even improved by modern processing methods and standards. Here's still another angle to health frauds and swindles. The oldest and most dangerous game of all, the cure-all drug. This form hides in the shadows and fringes of medical science and thrives on misleading promises to cure serious illness and disease. The old-time medicine man could sell his snake oil by positively guaranteeing it would cure any and every disease known to man and beast. But the beginning of the end came for all that with the passage of the first pure food and drug laws back in 1906. Over the years, these laws have become tighter and stronger. Today, all new drugs must be proved safe and effective before they can be marketed. In other words, the medicine must be safe and must do what's claimed for it. But there are always the handful that operate outside the law. A few misguided promoters peddle cures for incurable diseases. Some of them honestly believe in the useless medication. More, however, are bunkum artists without pity or conscience, willing to risk the lives of fellow human beings to line their own pockets. Fortunately, this form of quackery in medicine is gradually being eliminated by our food and drug laws. But there's still another form, equally dangerous and far more difficult to control. phony machines and devices which are supposed to diagnose and treat disease. Unlike new drugs, therapeutic devices do not have to be proved either safe or effective before they are sold or used. And so medical device quackery continues to thrive, to feed off human weaknesses, to capitalize on genuine scientific advances. There are, of course, many valuable medical devices today which truly work medical miracles, like this heart-lung machine. People understandably have faith in them and the wonders they perform. But there are many fake devices, equally impressive looking to the untrained eye. It's easy for anyone but an expert to be fooled by a machine like this, especially when the practitioner puts up an impressive medical front.
Now, may I have your hand palm up, please? Now, you won't feel anything. You won't feel the current going through at all. There will be current running through from here to this, through the machine, and there. That way we will get the readings, but you won't feel it. Now, if you just hold your chin up.
Doctor, how long is this going to take?
Well, I'm afraid the readings are not favorable. The findings show a high cellular waste exchange rate in the abdominal region.
And does that mean cancer?
Well, I'm going to have to take a few more readings to confirm the diagnosis.
Quackery flourishes in an atmosphere of pain, the threat of serious illness, fear, terrible anxiety. In desperation, almost all of us tend to grasp at straws, at anything, no matter how ridiculous the device or the claims made for it.
Frankly, it doesn't look too good. Yes, let's face it. It looks very much like cancer. Don't worry. There's still hope. There's hope. 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 There's hope. 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 Science, fortunately, has given us the equipment to fight and defeat this disease. This machine, which diagnosed your ailment, is one of science's greatest marvels. It not only measures the electrical currents in the body, it also can influence them. And cancer, too, you know, is a matter of electrical current. That is why this machine has been so highly effective in treating many forms of cancer without surgery or x-rays, particularly the kind you have. So just relax. Don't worry. We'll lick this.
Here is the brutal core of the charlatan's crime. The machine which diagnosed and is now going to treat this man is a total and complete fake. He's being sold a false hope. Because of this, if he really is suffering from a serious illness, he's being deprived of his one chance to live, immediate medical attention, and precious time is slipping by.
George, please. You've wasted 2 months. You must see Dr. Thompson now. Today. He wanted you to come to the hospital weeks ago.
I don't have to see Dr. Thompson. He's going to give me the same old answer. Oh, we can't be sure. We need more tests. An exploratory operation. I've heard all of that before. Besides, I've got the real answer now. And from a machine that can diagnose without surgery. And let me tell you one other thing. That machine is going to cure me.
That machine? We don't know anything about that machine.
Maybe you don't, but I do. And don't forget, a lot of very important people have spoken out in favor of it.
People, yes, but no medical experts. We have to have the best advice medical science can give us.
Medical doctors. You know them. What have they got against it? They use some pretty complicated gadgets themselves. When I was in Dr. Thompson's office for my checkup, he wired me and strapped me to a machine that was pretty wide.
Oh, George, stop lying to yourself. You know darn well that that was for an electrocardiogram. Now, that machine has been around a long time in every doctor's office for heart checkups and things. You must know there's a difference. Please, let's talk it over with Dr. Thompson.
Yes, clear-headedness and reason have vanished. The machine and the quack have erased George's fears and answered his silent prayers. The crooked devices and the phony operators vary, but the trap is always baited the same way. Quick diagnosis, hope of complete cure, happy ending. Not all device quackery takes place in an impressive office with an impressive practitioner to set the scene.
I'm coming. I'm coming. Who is it?
Package for you.
Just a moment.
Mrs. Schmollendorf?
Yes. Thank you. One moment.
Package for you, Mrs. Schmollendorf. Pretty heavy, better be careful.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's heavy.
Yeah.
Who is that?
Came at last.
What came?
You see. You see. My magnetic ray belt.
Your what?
My magnetic ray belt. To take care of my arthritis.
You pay good money for that?
Going to be worth every penny. I just know it is. The article I read said it would help for sure. And I need help. You know I do.
There is no device, no treatment, no drug which can truthfully be called a cure for arthritis. But that means nothing to the health fraud peddler. His objective is simple, to make sufferers think that a cure exists and to make them pay for it. And they do pay heavily for a few hours, a few days, a few months of hope, and then bitter disillusionment.
Well, we've tried about everything. Let's hope this will work.
Across the length and breadth of this land, quackery fattens on the worries, suffering, and hopes of human beings in trouble. How can we protect ourselves against quackery? How can we recognize it? How can we, its victims, tell the phony from the real? Know what is false and what is valid? Well, first of all...
My dear, it's the most marvelous system for drying up ulcers. I heard about it from my sister, and she had it straight from a friend who was absolutely cured of a horrible...
When you hear something like this, close your ears. Quackery, unfortunately, has a great many helpers, and among them are well-intentioned people who give word-of-mouth testimonials. For that matter, endorsements or testimonials from patients themselves are always questionable. in matters of health and medicine. If the product is promoted with such testimonials, be on guard. And remember that a statement is not necessarily true just because you read it somewhere. There are some other simple rules to keep in mind, too.
This secret product is so new, ladies and gentlemen, that the formula is known to only a very few.
The word secret is a danger signal. If this claim is made for a health product or device, you can be pretty sure it's a phony.
Explain everything there is to know about this product. Is effective for many conditions and diseases because scientifically it all depends.
You can be pretty sure it's worthless, too, if this kind of claim is made, that it will treat or cure a wide variety of ailments, especially the diseases for which medical science still has found no answer.
The male and the female corpuscles are together. Well, of course, the medical doctors won't have anything good to say about my technique. They're a closed corporation. I can't tell you.
Does the man with the product or device claim that he is being persecuted by the medical profession, which opposes him out of blindness or stupidity or stubbornness? If so, watch out. This is one of the surest signs that quackery is at work.
And shipped down by bus because the post...
Perhaps the most important thing of all to remember is this. Your family doctor is your closest ally in matters relating to your health and well-being. If he doesn't have the answer himself, he'll send you to a specialist. Other federal agencies, as well as the Food and Drug Administration, are deeply involved in combating the quackery problem. The Justice Department, for example, brings court action on recommendations of FDA for seizing fake products like this and removing them from the market. The department also prosecutes phony promoters of health and medical frauds and brings them to justice. The Department of the Post Office ferrets out mail frauds, like this one. But in order to set legal wheels turning, there must be victims who are willing to register complaints and testify in court. It's often difficult to locate these witnesses. Personal pride and shattered vanity hold them back. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, is responsible in the medical field for preventing false and misleading advertising in newspapers, magazines, radio and television commercials, and so on. In a case like this, the FTC can take action to stop the false claims. State and local licensing and law enforcement agencies also fight quackery. Not only worthless products, but fake practitioners as well. But the combined efforts of all of these government agencies and Congress and the American Medical Association and the Voluntary Health Agency, science and law working together to protect you, still aren't enough. You must join the battle by protecting yourself and your family from health frauds. When you're in trouble, that's not always easy. But in the end, being victimized can be far worse. It can mean not only your money, but your life.
Just sitting there working when suddenly strange things seem to happen. Look out, Jen. That box has ideas of its own. Or maybe you're working out in a plant like Tom Lamb. And you're enjoying the sunshine when all of a sudden you're attacked. Not by an animal, by a hammer. Wally Kaufman needs to test a cable, so he takes it out to the cable tester to hook it up. But then suddenly the cable decides that it wants to test him. Look out, Wally. Or how about this? Dom is tagging cylinders, when suddenly a cylinder way over on the next pallet decides that it just doesn't like him. Blam. Or did this ever happen to you? Look out, Jim. That acid seems to have something on its mind, and you won't like it. Or George Fitch wants to drill a hole. Wrong speed on the drill press. It's easy to fix. Switch off and change speeds. And the silly thing turns itself on again. Or how about this one? Gay's just minding her own business, and the Ditto Knight starts to get ideas. Look out, Gay. Look out! Ever happened to you? You can bet your sweet life that it hasn't. These things have never happened to you. And what's more, they never will. Because inanimate objects are just that, inanimate. They don't move of their own volition. They don't attack people. They have no ill will, no hatred, no feelings for or against people at all. Nature and the laws of physics can move them. Or people can set them in motion. Or people can stop them. But the machines that we work with and the tools we use feel nothing, care nothing, and think nothing. Yes, it is an uncaring world where hands and fingers are involved. Now, if the world were not like this, if objects cared like this box, well, then maybe we could just ignore safety and let the world take care of us. But the world doesn't protect us, and nobody has to work this hard to get hurt. Pretty foolish, right? But here's something that's really just as foolish. This grinder has a guard. There it is, right there on the table beside it. It won't do any good at all laying there on the table. And using the grinder with the guard laying on the table is just as much asking for trouble in our real world as this was in our imaginary world. Sure, guards just seem to get in the way. Well, that's what they're supposed to do. Get in the way of careless hands and fingers. Tools don't care what they're used for. Pliers aren't wrenches, but they don't care if we use them for wrenches. Your fingers might care, though. Wrenches aren't hammers. And knives aren't screwdrivers. And screwdrivers aren't chisels. But no tool is going to tell us that it's being used wrongly. It's up to us to use the right tool for the job. Tools don't care what shape they're in either. They don't care if they're broken. And they don't care if they're sharp in the wrong places. They don't care if they're worn out. But we'd better care, because any tool not in good condition can contribute to an injury. We have a variety of gloves to help protect our hands in this uncaring world. But here's something to think about. Neoprene surgical gloves wouldn't help much on a job like this. Heavy rough work calls for leather gloves. They save many a hand from an injury. On the other hand, some chemicals, sulfuric acid for instance, will penetrate leather gloves in seconds. But these neoprene gloves withstand it easily. So let's make sure that we use the right glove for the right job. These tools at the end of your arms are the most versatile in the world. With them, we're equipped to handle a vast variety of activities. Activities ranging from the delicate, like using this balance, to those requiring a great deal of force. The objects our hands must handle every day could, in just a split second, ruin those same hands. And we're going to need our hands for practically every activity we'll engage in for the rest of our lives, both on the job and off. Undoubtedly, you'll learn to do this when you are about 4 years old. It's a simple job when you know how, but try it without hands sometime. Or try this without hands. Or this. Or this. We start out life with 1 pair of hands and 10 fingers. They can't be replaced. They have to last us a lifetime. An important part of every job is making sure our hands stay in good working condition. No, these kinds of things don't happen, except in the movies. Inanimate objects don't try to attack people. But they don't protect us either. And unfortunately, these kind of things happen all too often. Only constant safety awareness and appreciation of hazards can keep them from happening. The things that our hands must deal with every day don't care. Caring is our job. So make sure that you take your hands home safely tonight and bring them back tomorrow. Who cares? Why, we do. All of us. We have to care. Nothing else does.